Hey guys, Vlad here with AVT-Astro. So today we're taking a look at the SVBONY SV501P. For those of you guys not familiar, I run a little astro blog called AVT-Astro.com. Overall, I've had over 100 scopes of all different types and styles. I've been to astronomy for about the last 25 years. And the subject of, buying probably in this case your first telescope, maybe for yourself or for your child, is very dear to my heart. Actually, the first scope that I had ever was a Tasco 60mm refractor, which, back in the day, that was a pretty common first scope. Like, they used to sell them at Walmart and that type of deal. This was kind of like almost before the internet, so I'm kind of dating myself here. But I was only 12 years old when I got into the hobby. So anyhow, this scope is kind of similar to the very first scope that I started with. So let's take a look. Alright, so I'm not much into unboxing videos. I don't really get them, but I'll do a quick one on this just so that you could see, how everything is packaged and that type of deal. I will start off by saying, so I got the scope. Simon actually contacted me probably because I did a review of their Zoom eyepiece, and they asked me if I wanted to do a review of this. Now, they just had me order the scope on Amazon. I will say they shipped it to me in like 3 days or something, so it must have been in my local fulfillment center or something, but it was like very fast shipping. But anyhow, yeah, let's get to this unboxing. I'll set the video speed to really fast so you can just kind of see how it's done. Alright, so it is double boxed. Okay, taking the scope out, first impressions, it actually comes in a little backpack type of a case, so you can carry it on your shoulders. That's pretty cool. Cases are pretty good, quality. I mean, really for a scope, in this price range, this is actually, a pretty good start, really. Alright, so first little bag here that's got like your diagonal and eyepiece and that type of deal, manual. If you're newer to astronomy, you'll need this, but I'll kind of, go through the setup of this so you're kind of good to go if you decide to go with one of these guys. This actually is a separate pouch for the tripod, pretty nifty. I like that it comes with its own pouch. And the scope itself is in here. It looks like in the case there's a few extra pockets here for like random accessories and that type of deal, so that's pretty cool. So we got the scope OTA here. Let's check her out. Alright. Cool. Yeah. So specs wise, this is a 70mm objective. It is multi-coated, so that's pretty neat. Focal length of this is 400mm. It's an f5.7, so it's not really super fast, but it's not really slow either. You'll be actually curious to see, how the color correction on this. If you don't know what color correction is or what the heck I'm talking about, look chromatic aberration, basically. Any refractor that's a doublet like this, that doesn't use like the newer ED type of elements, will exhibit a little bit of secondary color. Basically, all this means that all of the colors do not come in focus at the same focal point. And any achromatic refractor will show that a little bit, so we'll kind of check that out under the night sky later. Overall, the build quality is really nice on this. So this is plastic. This is a nice metal tube, nice paint on that. So anyhow, yeah, 1.25" focuser, pretty typical of a focuser that will come on an entry-level scope, fairly smooth. So anyhow, yeah, let's assemble this then and check it out. Alright, now that we got rid of all the boxes and stuff, let's get to the fun part. Let's set this bad boy up and see what it's all about, all set up. So, first things first, let's check out the tripod. So this is essentially a camera type of, style tripod. So, I guess the nice thing is if you have a camera, like even a DSLR, this is a, a decent tripod really. So you could even use this for your, for any type of a camera. Looks like the legs extend out 3 tiers. I'll probably, just for the sake of this video for now, extend them with 2 tiers so that it's not too high and in the frame. So yeah, that you know, feels pretty smooth. Like if you've had a, you know, a photo tripod, you're probably familiar with that. Now mind you, I haven't read the manual for this or anything like that, so I'm kind of figuring this out as I go, but I've set up a scope or two before, so pretty sure I can figure it out. Okay, I was confused for a second because this thing actually has a Vixen style dovetail that typically will kind of slide into a shoe, so I was kind of like, wait a second, how are you even supposed to attach this? But then I realized there's 2 photo bolt type of threads on here, so basically you just thread this thing right on. Now having this Vixen dovetail, if you did later, you know, upgrade to a telescope type of mount, you can actually mount it with that as well. So that's actually kind of a neat thing to have, really. So you could do either or. Maybe you already have a different mount, you're just looking to get this as you know, like a quick grab and go scope, or maybe like a birding type of scope for doing some birding, that type of deal. Yeah. Looks pretty cool. Alright, let's continue with the setup. Alright, and as I'm kind of setting this up, one thing that I kind of quickly noticed, this is a correct image diagonal, so this is extra 45 degree, and so they come in 45 degree and 90 degrees. So with this, like, this is kind of more for like terrestrial type of viewing. You can also get a 45 degree. What's kind of cool is actually pretty impressive at this price point. This thing is a compression range, so basically, like if you put an eyepiece, the set screw won't mar it, so that's kind of cool actually. I didn't really expect that at this price point of a scope. So let's take out the dust cap. This guy goes right in here. Eyepiece wise, the scope includes 1 Kellner 20mm eyepiece. It's 1.25 inches. Pretty basic model. Like this thing does not even look like it's coated, so you know, I mean, for getting you started, this will work. I've got several videos on, you know, like selecting eyepieces and that type of deal. So like, you know, if you get this and you're ready to upgrade, got you covered there. And then this is the little finder scope, so let's go and put that in there, and we should be good to go. Alright, ta-da! There she is. Look at that. I was able to assemble it without reading the manual. Pretty easy, nothing too much to it. I mean, overall, quality-wise, I mean, for, you know, $100, this is actually pretty nice. I'm actually pretty impressed with the tripod. We'll get this thing out under the night sky, and we'll kind of see how the optics do. But overall, you know, for being an entry-level scope for at $100, I mean, this is, you know, this is a lot that you're getting. So yeah, I'll see you guys out a little bit later when it gets darker. Should be clear tonight, and we'll check this thing out under the night sky. Alright guys, so here's the scope, kind of right before it's starting to get dark. And what are we pointed at? At the moon. Sweet. So this is kind of a quick general guide of how to use a telescope if it's your first time. So the first thing that you want to do is you'll actually find the target. So in this case it's the moon, in the little finder scope, right? So let's see. So there's the moon through the finder scope. So it's already magnified a little bit, and you'll actually want to center with the crosshairs. I'm not going to do that because I'm hand holding my phone to, which I'm using to record this video, to the finder scope. So you'll center that up, right? And then you're going to go to your eyepiece, you know, like of the actual telescope, and you're going to look through there. Pretty cool. There's the moon. Alright, and let me switch over to, real quick to the pro mode of the camera, and we'll be able to get a much better picture of the moon. Alright, so we're in the pro mode of the camera, and all that does is it allows me to adjust the exposure to what it needs to be, because as you can see right now, the moon's way too bright, right? And that's just because we're using the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the ISO, basically the sensitivity of the camera down, right? And you'll magically start to see kind of more detail on the moon. So you kind of see craters and all the fun stuff that's normally associated with the moon. Pretty cool. Right now it's a small crescent. Very cool to check it out at at this stage. Yeah. So this kind of gives you an idea of what you can expect to see even at a low power with the stock eyepiece that kind of comes with the scope. Alright guys, so here's a little bit more of a zoomed in view of the moon, and I apologize the shaking. This is about as good as I could get it, handheld. And the reason that I wanted to show you this is because this is a little bit closer to the amount of detail that you could expect to see, even with the low power stock eyepiece with your eyeball. It's kind of, it's a little bit difficult to depict with the camera, what you're going to see through the telescope, right? It's always going to, be either better or worse. But this is, a fairly close representation of the amount of detail that you could expect to see. So anyhow, next up, we are going to look at some deep sky objects. So I'll see you guys in a little bit, and I'll let you know how the scope performs on that. So it's finally dark, and I'm going to take my first look through the scope and let you guys know what I think. Check it out. Alright guys, so quick update. Scope's performing pretty well. Stars are pretty sharp in there. Actually, surprisingly, I don't really see any chromatic aberration. The power is pretty low on that. I believe with the 20mm eyepiece, that gives you, I believe, 40x. I'll post it in the video here what the actual magnification is. I'm actually kind of curious to see. I'm actually going to go grab one of my better diagonals and a better eyepiece and just, kind of see if the scope, performs better with that. So yeah, let's check it out. Alright guys, so I got the 1.25" batter prism diagonal, and I got the batter zoom here, which is an eyepiece that I highly recommend for a really good serious eyepiece. This is actually going to be probably a little too heavy for the scope and mount combo, but I want to check it out and see how it does with heavier eyepieces too, and just really kind of evaluate the optical performance a little bit more for you guys. Alright guys, so as I kind of suspected, switching to a more premium diagonal and eyepiece, it does sharpen up stars quite a bit. So the stock diagonal and eyepiece combo, they're kind of made more for terrestrial use, and they work pretty well for astronomy type applications as well. But just like with any scope that you buy, the standard accessories, can be upgraded. So if you do, in the future, kind of, have a little bit of extra money and want to do some upgrades, that is something that you could change out and get even better performance. Using this thing now, I've been kind of using it for about an hour now. It's bringing back a lot of memories of my very first scope. It's kind of got the same similar type of performance and that type of deal. It's definitely enough to kind of get your feet wet in astronomy and see, some of the brighter deep sky objects. The moon is going to look pretty cool in it. You can see some of the brighter planets. You'll be able to see the rings of Saturn, the moons of Jupiter. So that's pretty cool. Alright guys, so it's still clear today. I decided to do a little bit of terrestrial observing. I think that's kind of the other, really cool aspect of having a little scope like this, is that you can, use it as a spotting scope, like if you're into birding, or really, if you're just like even, like just driving, somewhere scenic and you want to, check out some stuff. This is a perfect setup, for taking a quick look. So yeah, let's take a look during the day and I'll let you know what I think. Oh, actually, I forgot. One thing to point out, so this thing comes with a little tag on it when you buy it brand new that says do not look at the sun with the telescope. Unless you have the perfect filtration, do not even point the scope towards the sun. So like right now the sun is like roughly that way, and I'm kind of looking out towards the mountains out there. So this is very important if you're using the telescope during the day. So yeah, during the day, I'm actually pretty impressed. So I'm looking at the mountain out there, right? And there's a pretty, big contrast between it and the trees. It's really white and the trees are dark. So typically if there's some chromatic aberration to be visible, like that secondary color that I was talking about be visible. So during the day, it's really like almost not there. So that's pretty cool. So realistically, this is a pretty good like birding and spotting type of scope as well. Alright guys, so hopefully that kind of give you guys an idea of what to expect, if you pick up one of these things, like as your first scope, or maybe you're just picking up as a spotting scope and that type of deal. What do I think about it overall? It is a $100 scope. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. No $100 scope is ever going to be perfect, unfortunately. But really, you do get a lot for your money. The tripod's pretty nice on this. The optical quality is actually pretty good on these guys, especially since it's quite a faster scope to f5.7. Color correction is pretty under control, especially if you kind of keep the powers down, which is what this kind of is. It's kind of more of like a lower power, scope for sweeping the night sky, especially during the summer when the Milky Way is out. The moon will look pretty good with it. And then it actually makes a really good terrestrial scope. So if you want to do some birding or just some nature observing, like maybe observing wildlife and that type of deal, for $100 you really can't go wrong. So yeah, this kind of gives you a lot. The other application that I would see this to be like really handy is if you're actually backpacking, which the backpack already comes with, or just taking it camping. A lot of times, like when I'm going camping, there isn't enough room for like a full-blown like big scope. This, it'll fit pretty much in any car, so that's pretty cool. So anyhow, yeah, if you guys like the video, hit the like button. If you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, leave them in the thing below. And if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.